The company that makes the platform, they're based out of Belgium, Hungary. And they developed it for arcades to be able to have a lower cost solution as an attraction for their arcade, and to be able to do it with, the spirit of social in mind. So when they started it, it was all team-based games, and they just wanted to be able to allow groups to come in. Well, what they found was that a lot of people like to play against each other as well. So that's where Quantum Arena came from. The fact that, well, people want to come in and they want to be able to play as a group, but sometimes they want to shoot each other.
So Quantum Arena, well, let me start. The other three that I did not play, those are more go in as a team together and work.
Yes, you are going in as a team against a common enemy. Whereas the Quantum Arena is deathmatch, go up against each other. It is exclusive to that platform and that company, only for people who have, I guess you could say, bought into their beta program. So we actually get to test it first before they send it out globally. But yeah, now they're going to start releasing it out to all the other arcades. But since we already got it, we were the first to get the update for its full release. With the older headsets, they used to use external sensors to track where the headset was in that space. You could put one in one corner, and about 12 feet away, you'd put another one. And then that would give you your space that you could move around in. Well, what Facebook did with their Quest headsets is they put the tracking inside the headset. And then so it's called inside out tracking. Now, the way that it uses it, it has infrared cameras that are able to see in real time what's going around it. Well, it uses angles and lines and things like that in the environment to figure out where it is in that space. So if you map that into a game, you can always tell where the headset is in that game. And so when you add other people, now you have an even better tracking system, because now you're tracking each other as well as the environment. And so you can coexist in that same space without bumping into each other.
When it came time to get ideas and input and advice on how is it running, do you recommend any changes, they came to Damon and he was able to talk to the developers directly. And so that experience with the boulders that come at you and the doors that open and close, that was Damon's input on that. He suggested to them, what would be really cool is if it was a laser tag that you're not just against the people, but you have elements that you have to go against as well. And so they took that idea and they incorporated it and put it into the game. And it's, as far as we know, that is very unique to the VR laser tag. There isn't anything else out there that has elements you have to go against.
There's a few different virtual reality laser tag platforms out. What they wanted to do was to be able to have a platform that allowed you multiplayer, but to also have hazards in the map. So not only are you fighting against the other players, you're fighting against the map itself. And so that is new. And thankfully, that was my idea. But they put that in there. And so now it's like become this kind of cool, amazing thing that, even if you were to play, just two people, it's still going to be a lot of fun, because it's kind of like you're playing three. It is a very immersive platform, which I think that's probably why it's one of our biggest attractions. When you play it, it's not like playing just the regular standard VR at your house, where you're standing in a room with a little bit of space and you're having stuff come at you. In that, you can actually go to it. You can interact with just about everything that's in there. If there's a weapon on the ground, you can pick it up and use it. I mean, it's that interactive. And then the fact that you can give your weapon to someone else that's in there with you, your buddy, and you exist in that space as though you are in real reality. It's just a game. So yeah, that's probably my favorite part about it. So Versus is made by a company called Phenomena in Canada. It's owned by a guy named Awen Jones, and he's kind of the same thing Hero Zone did. He wanted to create a package that arcades could use that was low cost but high gain. And so they came up with this platform to be able to do basically esport type tag, because we all know everybody plays tag and it's fun and there's tag arenas all over the place, but no one has ever really created a esport tournament style VR tag, and that's what they were trying to do. That's why it felt so real, and when you're running through the hallways and everything is very scaled. And so if you have, competition with other arcades, they come up with their own teams and be able to, you could do something national with this. And that's what they're trying to grow into. So I caught on to them when they were first coming out about 2 years ago. And same thing with Hero Zone. We formed a good relationship, and he kind of let me in on what was going on with them and what they were planning, and I've been with them ever since. And so, yeah, it's a very intense version of tag because it's so realistic. But, they added the kind of the space agey kind of retro feel to it too, to give that arcade feel to it. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't just feel like a journey you were going on. It felt like an arcadey sort of experience. So you could jump in it, do it, and then you can get out. And so that's where it comes from.
Blue and red teams, and this was a free range experience in a place that had no tape. So maybe talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so some of the issue that we encountered was basically you got to have the tracking tape to denote how big and how complex the arena is going to be. And so when the headsets are out there, they can track each other more appropriately, so you're not running into each other. Also, where the target sites are going to be, like spawn points, traps, things like that, because you want to be able to scale where those are compared to where you're going to be, so you're not falling into traps all the time. It's a lot of fun. That was just one map, and there's like 7 or 8 of them in there, and you can do either teams or you can do free-for-all. And the free-for-all is like going to the Coliseum and being gladiators. It gets quite intense, especially when you have that many people trying to gun for each other. So, and then we also have some other goodies that we will eventually be putting with it, but they are guns that you can actually set up on the controller, so it has more of the run and gun feel to it. And there's 2 for each headset, so yeah, you could go all John Wick on it if you wanted. They're all a laser tag experience, but the layouts are different, and they're made for kind of different gaming types. Now, the one that I put you guys on were made more for team oriented, because the spawn points were far away from each other with barricades in between. Now, there are other ones that are more for like deathmatch, where they're more maze oriented. So they're, the walls just kind of go everywhere, and you just have to find each other. And so, yeah, depending on the layout of the map, that's kind of the game style that you go for when you're using it. So, yeah, team or individual, it's an amazing platform, and for the price, what you get and the return, it's, if you don't have it, you're not really looking. The Mission X one is, I guess you could call it the third laser tag that we do. Now, we didn't get to try out the full game of it because I'm still installing it, but you were able to set up or feel some of the components that we're going to be using, like the feedback vest. Now, the feedback vest, that's one of my favorites. It adds a lot of dimension to the game, and so you're not just playing the game, you're involved in it. You're part of it. And so when you got somebody shooting at you and you're feeling them hitting you, even though they're across the room, it's kind of personal in a lot of senses. So yeah, we were doing that. And then the game that I actually put you in to test the vest was called Pistol Whip. And that one is you can get it off Steam or you can get it from the Oculus store or whatever. But it's a music-based shooting game. So it's got that kind of tag element because you're trying to take out your enemy and they're trying to take you out, but it's all done to music. So, and then with the vest, it's like being John Wick without being John Wick. I love it. Yeah, it's a room scale game. So that just means that you have a small defined space, usually about 8 by 8 foot, and you don't move from that space. You don't leave it, and everything is done in that space. It's usually with a wired headset. Now with the Quest coming out, most people only have about that amount of space to play VR. So that's why they call it room scale, because that was based off of just this little area that you could play in. Now what we're in out here is called arena scale. Now arena scale is much larger because you have a lot more room to move around in. Well, actually, to put it in perspective, this would probably be considered more warehouse scale because we're in a warehouse and we're utilizing a good chunk of it. The hero zone that was in there is arena scale. So you can see room scale, arena scale, warehouse scale. When they first came out, it's a Korean-based game that was trying to add to the arcade market because at that time, when all this stuff was happening, when all these different games were coming up, there really wasn't anything for an arcade that was of a decent low cost but high gain, high output. You can get a lot of people through it, so it means that your return is going to be pretty good. You know, you figure for every person that you get into a headset, if you give them, say, half an hour, sometimes even not that much, just 15 minutes. Well, 15 minutes multiplied between 6 people in just a simple match that lasts for about 5 to 8 minutes. That's pretty good. So it's able to produce a lot of return customers because they can easily just come in and put on a headset, jump in, play, and get their fun. So we use Oculus Quests because they're wireless and they're not super expensive to buy and they have really good quality. For what we do, that it works out perfect. So we're able to attain a number of them along with the platform that we license, and we're able to get a lot of people in to play tag. One of the things that a lot of people think about what we do is that we're all just about the entertainment, but we actually are more than that. We have 2 sides to us. We have a entertainment side that funds everything, but then we have kind of like a mindful research side where we use VR for other applications. An example was about 2.5 years ago, we were working with a company called Real Services. They handle things like dementia, elderly, food for the homeless, things like that. So we had got involved with them to do elder care program with their stage 1 to stage 3 dementia patients. What we ended up finding out was that when we introduced VR to them, not only did it help them with their memory recall and retention, but it also helped with their tactile feedback. So they were able to hold, if they had like Parkinson's or any sort of shake, it actually helped to strengthen their muscles because they were holding the controller and they were having to manipulate it at this kind of granular level, They were able to go into experiences that triggered memories. One of the ladies that we had worked with, she used to be a scuba diver off the coast of Florida. Not even the activities director knew that. And she had been with her for like 5 years. And so she had no idea that she was into all this stuff. We put her in an experience after about the second time that we had done that. She was literally on the floor looking at the seabed, following crabs and talking about how she used to do that off of Clearwater. Everybody was like, what? You used to do that? And she was like, oh yeah. And went into this whole story talking about it. And then it was like afterwards, it was like it turned off. And then she just went back to kind of her reserved, quiet self. And it was just like, okay, did we just do that? Or, was it the VR or something triggered that? So the more we got into it, the more we started to find out that VR actually has very strong implications in the health and wellness market. Helping people with PTSD, autism. We had one guy, he had degenerative eye disease, and we used the VR on him. He had not been able to see a letter chart for like 4 years. He couldn't read anything off of it, even the biggest letter. We put him in VR. We had this game called, what was it? It was a fishing game. Bait. It's called Bait. So basically, it's kind of a fun game. You sit back, you fish, you try to pull out different types of exotic fish, and you get money for it. Well, he was a big fisherman back in his day when he could actually see and stuff. And so he was in this room with his daughter and his brother, and we had put him in this experience. he instantly was like, why is this squirrel staring at me? And we all like, what do you mean squirrel? Which there was a squirrel next to him. We just didn't know how he was able to see it. And so he's sitting there looking at this squirrel next to him, talking about the thing just keeps staring at me, but it's not moving. And his daughter started crying. His brother was like, what did you do to my brother? You know, it was like really bizarre that we'd got that sort of response that quick. But, you know, like I said, as we started digging into this, we found out you don't just have to game on this. You can actually help people with this. And so so we actually have a division of our company called Envision that is based on figuring out how to use this technology for those sorts of applications.